So today was the long-awaited Quakecon panel for Fallout 76, in that we got an in-depth look at how perks and character systems would work. And really, there's a pretty heavy focus on perks and their functionality in Fallout 76. One of the super interesting parts about this presentation was we got to look at a lot of these perks. And even though they didn't verbally discuss some of these mechanics, many of the perk cards actually introduced us to totally new mechanics in Fallout 76, things that we didn't know were coming. And even though perks at first glance probably don't seem stupendously interesting, a lot of the information carried in their descriptions is very interesting. So in this video, I'm going to go over literally every perk card we did see in this new footage. There's actually a couple of Reddit users that put together albums showing all these individual images. I'll have links to them down below. I'm going to be using those images on screen in this video because it is immensely helpful and a lot easier than trying to zoom in on the video. So a huge shout out to Reddit users Zirkin, BotLazy, and BK1349. Again, I'm going to have links to all three of their posts down below, and they're very useful tools with me constructing this video. I'm also only going to be sharing the ones we got complete descriptions for. Some of them you only saw the title, and I mean we could speculate, but I'm just going to go over the ones that are totally confirmed. First, Expert Heavy Gunner. This is actually one of the gold cards we did see, and it says your non-explosive heavy guns now do plus 10% damage. Pretty standard. For a lot of these more typical ones, just increases to damage. I'll just go over them and move on to the next. Sturdy Frame. Armor weighs 25% less than normal. Expert Slugger, your two-handed melee weapons now do plus 10% damage. Batteries included, energy weapon ammo weighs 30% less, so this one is particularly interesting. If you played Fallout 4 or really any of the other Fallouts on survival mode, you'll know ammo in that mode weighs something. With Fallout 76, a trend we have been seeing is them integrating certain survival features into kind of the vanilla mode. For Fallout 4, if you played easy, very easy, normal, hard, or very hard, ammo was weightless. But in Fallout 76, seemingly on the default mode, ammo will weigh something. In addition, you're going to have to drink and eat in order to survive, or you'll have to face debuffs. I imagine the ammo weights won't be as extreme in Fallout 76 because in Fallout 4 survival, you really have to pick and choose what you can carry. You definitely can't just carry anything. It's very interesting that they're integrating this into the normal game mode. Bandolier ballistic weapon ammo weighs 90% less, so something just to clear it up, as you can kind of see on this one versus batteries included, Bandolier is going to be the third rank, so what it's likely is 3 Bandolier perk cards combined into one. So it's not like the first level of Bandolier is going to give you a 90% weight reduction, while the first level of batteries included will only give you a 30% weight reduction. Gladiator, your one-handed melee weapons now do plus 10% damage. Through Hiker, food and drinks weights are reduced by 30%. Another interesting mechanic, they're actually adding in food decay into Fallout 76, although not really addressed by this perk. It is something that's interesting. I wonder how much the weight of food will actually affect you, considering it's getting dedicated perks to reduce it. I wouldn't be shocked if they actually up the weight compared to Fallout 4 or Fallout 3 in New Vegas. Bare arms, heavy guns weigh 20% less. So that was it for strength. Nothing stupendously crazy. A lot of them were fairly simple, actually dealing with the weight of various items and how much damage you deal. But then moving on, we do have Perception. Refractor, gain plus 5 energy resistance. This one's brutal to say. Panopictographist, and that's the name of someone who collects comic books in the real world. You hear directional audio when in range of a magazine. I don't entirely get this one. Like, is the magazine going to make a noise so it's easier to find or something? Again, pretty interesting. Seems like it'll be some kind of new mechanic in this game. PERCEPTI-BOBBLE. You hear directional audio when in range of a bobblehead. Green Thumb. You have a 25% chance to reap twice as much when harvesting flora. Something interesting to note in this one, even though Fallout 4 also featured harvesting plants, you never really used it, or at least I never personally used it in game. In Fallout 76, obviously food's going to decay, crafting food's going to be something quite important, but a lot of crafting recipes are actually going to be unlockable. That's something they've said in previous interviews. It's not like everything, all the crafting recipes that is, are just going to be handed to you. You're going to have to do something to get access to them. Night Person. Gain 1 intelligence and 1 perception between 6 p.m. and 6 a.m. Then for the endurance perks, Aqua Girl, you no longer take rad damage from swimming and can breathe underwater. Professional Drinker, there's no chance you'll get addicted to alcohol. Vaccinated, chance of catching a disease from creatures is reduced by 60%. This is pretty interesting. So diseases they've talked about are making a return, but catching a disease from creatures was never really a thing in any of the previous Fallouts. Most of the times you actually got a disease from Fallout 4, it was either from a quest event or it was from not properly taking care of yourself in survival mode. I imagine a lot of people who don't play on survival weren't even super familiar with diseases because you rarely encountered them. In Fallout 76, they will seemingly be a much larger component of the game, and interesting that you can catch them from creatures. That definitely makes me feel like they're going to be a expanded and there would be a lot more variety in which diseases you can get. Like in Fallout 4, we did have the mole rat disease. Maybe in Fallout 76, you're going to have the giant sloth disease. That gives you certain and distinctively different debuffs than compared to, let's say, the Mothman disease or something like that. Dromedary, all drinks quench thirst by an additional 15%. Slow metabolizer, all food satisfies hunger by an additional 15%. Revenant, gain a 25% damage bonus for 2 minutes when a player revives you. So that's particularly interesting. I think player reviving is something they've briefly touched on in the past. Obviously in that original gameplay video, we did see that someone was downed, but I feel like it hasn't really been discussed in the community that much, so seemingly you'll be able to get down after taking a certain amount of damage, and then some of your teammates can actually run up and revive you. Something I would be interested in knowing though is, can players not in your party, so not in your 4-person party, actually revive you? Let's say you guys just encounter each other and decide to try and take on some legendary creature together. Even if you're not in the same group, can that person walk up and revive you if you get downed, and vice versa? I could see that potentially being a problem with griefing if I shoot you until you get downed and then pick you back up again, only to repeat that cycle over and over if, let's say, I have a super OP weapon that could easily take you out. Then we move on to Charisma. This is actually the most we saw as far as perk cards go, more in this category than any of the other ones, which is particularly interesting because obviously Charisma has to be distinctively different in Fallout 4 considering there's no human NPCs, and that's pretty much all it focused on in Fallout 4, 3, and New Vegas. Hard bargain. Buying and selling prices at vendors are better. This is really interesting. In the past, we've actually heard about how you're going to be able to potentially set up a little shop through a robot, but they weren't sure if they're actually going to implement that. And I'm quite curious as to what vendors are going to refer to in this context. Does it just mean a robot that you can trade with at a town? It's an NPC, not identical to how it worked in Fallout 4, or is that referring to robots that are set up by players, or both? I'm going to say it's pretty likely that we're going to have some kind of NPC vendors, exactly how we did in Fallout 4, and I'm definitely happy to see that making a return. Inspirational. When you're on a team, gain 5% more XP. And just something to note, this is something you're going to see throughout a lot of these. They did mention that Charisma in Fallout 76 is largely going to function as something to give team bonuses, or bonuses to you while playing co-op with other people. Party girl or boy, the effects of alcohol are doubled. Happy-go-lucky, your luck is increased by 2 while under the influence of alcohol. Strange in numbers. Positive mutation effects are 25% stronger if teammates are mutated also. Mutations are a new mechanic in Fallout 76 that are going to function very similar to traits. You can get a mutation by being around a lot of radiation, and then there's going to be different ways to actually make certain mutations permanent or even advance them further on your character. But unlike perks, they're going to have way more trade-offs. So let's say a mutation may make it so you can reload 10% faster, but you're 10% less accurate. That's just an example. That's not necessarily one of the actual ones coming in Fallout 76. Philanthropist, restore some of your teammates' hunger and thirst when you eat or drink. That seems like it's going to be a very powerful perk. Spiritual healer, you regenerate health for 5 seconds after reviving another player. Squad maneuverer, run 10% faster when part of a team. Lone wanderer, when adventuring alone, take 10% less damage and gain 10% AP regeneration. Team medic, your stim packs now also heal nearby teammates for half the normal strength. Bloodsucker, blood packs now satisfy hunger, no longer irradiate, and heal 50% more. Happy camper, hunger and thirst grow 40% more slowly when in camp or in a team workshop. So that one's particularly interesting how they kind of differentiate. It's when in camp, as in like your own camp. I assume that refers to the item you place down to actually create a workshop, but then they refer to it as a team workshop. So maybe they're different. Can you set up just like a little campfire or something to maybe do some crafting at that's not as kind of complete as a actual camp? I'm not really sure, but it's interesting either way. Quack surgeon, revive other players with liquor. That was definitely a fan favorite and one of my favorites throughout the conference. Bodyguards, gain 6 damage and energy resist, a maximum of 18 for each teammate excluding you. The maximum of 18 referring to the possibility of having 4 people in a squad. So 3 people with you, 3 times 6 equals 18. So let's move on to intelligence, science, craft energy mods, plans required. So that's a bit of what I was referring to before. Now you're going to require a lot more schematics in order to actually craft different things for different pieces of equipment in the game. It seems like the way it's going to work in this game compared to Fallout 4 is rather now you're just going to need the first level and only level seemingly of the science perk to gain access to modifying energy weapons. But in order to actually get some of those higher tier energy weapon mods, you're going to have to get the schematics or plans as they're called here. And it's not just going to be you need additional levels of the perk and also some of the junk that is required. Now it'll probably just be you need the plans and you also need the junk. Master Hacker, gain +1 hacking skill. First Aid, Stimpaks restore 10% more health. Exotic weapons, you can now craft rank 1 exotic weapon mods. This is really interesting because what are exotic weapons? That seems like it's going to be a new weapon category in Fallout 76. In Fallout 4, of course, you had explosives, heavy weapons, energy weapons, pistols, rifles, shotguns. Non-automatic rifles technically were also in a separate category, but either way, exotic weapons is definitely not something we've seen before. Obviously, in the little picture, he shows himself using a bow and arrow. We also saw a crossbow, but what else is considered in that category? Maybe some of the flintlock and black powder items we've seen? I actually went over a full video looking at all the weapons we've seen thus far in case you're interested and want to check that out. Contractor, crafting workshop items now cost 25% fewer materials. Grease Monkey, workshop items are 30% cheaper to repair. If you don't know, in Fallout 76, enemies can shoot some of your workshop items and then you'll have to repair it if they destroy them. The repair process apparently is literally just walking up to it and clicking like the E key or probably hitting A on Xbox One. It's supposed to be very simple and minimal in the griefing category. Interesting though that a lot of the intelligence stuff, or at least the stuff we've seen thus far, is around building or creating new things. Then moving on to agility, we do have Goat Legs, take 80% less damage from falling. Marathoner, sprinting consumes 20% fewer action points. Dodgy, spend 30 action points to avoid 10% of each enemy attack. Agility was definitely the category we saw the least about, but then we do finally have Luck. Luck of the Draw, your weapon has a 10% chance to regain condition when hitting an enemy. A new mechanic coming in Fallout 76 that was confirmed largely in the no-clip documentary is weapon condition is making a return. If you don't know, in Fallout New Vegas, and I believe in Fallout 3, the way weapon condition worked was you can only basically cycle so many rounds through different firearms, and after a while it would degrade to the point of breaking and you could no longer use it. Then you would have to repair it either with the exact same weapon, so if it was a 10mm pistol, another 10mm pistol, or I believe through perks you could get to the point where you could actually use similar weapons to also repair it. This of course is making a return in some way. How it's going to work, if it's going to work the same way or not, is not clear yet. Mysterious Stranger. The Mysterious Stranger now appears more often when using VATS. Starched Genes, you will never mutate from rads and Radaway will never cure mutations. This is interesting because it seemingly kind of locks you into whatever mutations you do have presently. Scrounger, 50% chance to find extra ammo when you search an ammo container. And then finally we do have Mystery Meat. Stimpaks generate excessive edible meat, higher rads improve the chance. So that's particularly interesting. So seemingly however many rads you do have presently, when you actually use a Stimpak, maybe it'll just kind of fill your meter, or it'll actually place a meat item of some sort in your inventory that you can later eat or maybe use in crafting. Yeah, either way, that's all the perks we did see in the gameplay. I may have missed one or two, and if I did, make sure to comment them. I'll pin your comment or like it so other people can see it. I tried to go through it all, double check to make sure I didn't miss anything. Again, some of the ones I didn't cover, we didn't get the full description of, or just didn't get any description at all except for the title of it, which I'm not going to speculate based just on that. A lot of new mechanics coming in this game, and I'm quite excited for it. As always, again, I thank you all for watching. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, found it informative. There'll be a lot more Fallout 76 content over the next few days, analyzing a lot more of the stuff we actually got at Quakecon, so you can stay tuned for that. But otherwise, as always, again, I thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you all next time. Later.